This is the story of how I framed my camper van in South Dakota. So the week started with taking out the top tracks. If you remember, we had a really hard time getting those tracks out. The bottom tracks will forever be under the subfloor, but the top tracks we were able to take out because thank goodness Grandpa has an impact driver, and then we were able to take out some of the other fixtures in the van as well that are annoyingly screwed to the van. And so here my grandpa's friend had stopped by and is showing how to use the angle grinder. That thing sparks like the 4th of July. Got the LED strip that the previous owners had left attached to the van, just unscrewed it from the wire nuts, and then a few days later I came back and took off the whole strip, and just got things out of there. Oh, gotta get the fancy chair spin in there, of course. All right, looks like she's trying to talk to us now. It's hot out here. I'm tired. All right. So I have found these boards in the machine shed. I have a bunch of them measured and cut to size, and then so because there's a lot of wood around here, and I'm looking for good boards and what I can find. I think this is cedar, but my grandpa has a wood planer which allows you to set the thickness of the board, so it'll shave off part of this board here because this is kind of thick for framing my van. So I'm going to I think I'm going to shoot for an inch, shave it down to an inch. And I'm gonna do that on all these. I'm thinking. Okay, that's enough. As she was saying, my grandpa has this sawmill where he takes trees that have been cut down on the property over the years, or people in the area who know my grandpa has a sawmill have donated trees, or he's gotten a lot of old highline electricity poles. He turns them into boards. But then those boards still need to be planed and cut down, planed, get looking more pretty. So I'm very thankful that I have access to some free lumber while I'm here at the farm. But it is a little bit of a process to break it down and get it to something I can use in my van. I wish you would stay there by magic. Me too, kid. Me too. Just gotta figure out how to attach all these bad boys. Okay. One step at a time, guys. One teeny tiny step at a time. So it turns out that building a camper van has a lot of decisions for an overthinker like myself. And so I was really torn between basically the two ways that I would see people would attach the framing to their van was either using self-tapping wood to metal screws and just, creating a bunch of holes in not the side of your van. It's kind of like got 2 layers of metal, so you still go through like the first layer of metal. That would be not good if you were poking holes through to the outside world. But or there's this rib nut method where, well, a lot of people will build their vans with like ProMasters or Sprinters, and they have a lot of really nice pre-existing holes. And my van does have pre-existing holes, but they're very sporadic, and they're like, so many of them are different sizes. It's not super practical to use the rib nuts. Though I saw a lot of people doing it. It seemed like the more professional way. Those were the vibes I was getting. It seemed like the more professional way to build out your camper van. Possibly, like, supposedly maybe sturdier, just more, supposedly a sturdier route. But for me, it would require drilling a bunch of new holes into my van, which is okay. That's what I'd have to do with the screws anyways. And then I had heard a lot of people did the self-tapping metal screws and things worked out fine for them, and other people were talking about it just creates an opportunity for rust. Legend has it she's still spiraling about it, even though the decision has been made. But long story short, I ended up having to order a rib nut tool. You can't really find them in stores, it turns out, and I had to wait 2 days for it. So in the meantime, we are going to build some wheel well boxes and start staining the wood for the framing. So I started by measuring the wheel wells, because who would want to redo all this work over again? Oh, and look, there's the measurement all neatly written out right there. Okay, so I planed the boards, and then I was talking to my uncle. He's been very helpful. I've consulted him a few times on this project. He has flipped some houses, and he's easily one of the coolest, most helpful people on this planet. He doesn't love the camera as much as my sisters do, but then again, who does? Anyways, here he is from a distance, and here's his daughter holding Jonathan the farm cat. Anyways, back to the planer. So we have a lot of lumber on the farm, but not very much plywood. And so to make a box, I needed to make like a bigger unit that was larger than a board. So he had this idea of running everything through the side planer, which compared to the other planer, it just makes the edges of the board smooth, and so you can get the edges of the board like 100% flat, so that when you put two together, there's no gap. Now, Keith. Once I had my boards planed in all the ways, it was time to put them together. And so I put these together with biscuit joiners. Because Grandpa has a biscuit cutter and biscuits, so why not? Why not use all the tools I possibly can while I'm at the farm? Because by the end of this, I will be a master builder, master carpenter, or my name is not Brooke Storebuild. Okay, move past it, everybody. Move past it. Okay, so we join. So first I line up the boards. I mark where I'm going to be cutting the hole for the biscuits. And then I use the biscuit cutter, as you can see, to make the holes. And then once you have the holes, you stick the biscuits in the holes and add wood glue and stick everything together, and then clamp it, give the glue a chance to dry. So here I just have a bunch of my different units, different parts for my boxes, all clamped together. And then once they had some time to dry, probably not enough, I was a little impatient, but here we go. So then I had to make sure everything was to the size that I had measured, so I still had to shave some of it off with the table saw. And you can tell that I've spent too much time in the shop when I start doing things like this. And then finally, we pulled out Grandpa's pocket jig, also known as a Craig jig. So this just made it so that I could make divots in the wood so that I could screw the box together from inside the box so that no screws will be visible from the outside. So that's what that looks like. And then once I screwed everything together, you have a box. Please fit, please fit, please fit, please fit, please fit. Everybody say please fit, please fit, please fit. Oh my gosh, it fits. What? Look at that. Look at that. It's like a bench. I built a bench. She would later go on to finish all of the boxes, and even a couple days later, she would paint the boxes, whilst borrowing Grandma's pink twins hat, of course. And wow, look at those clouds rolling back there to show the passage of time. That's cool. Well, I hope you're well rested because it's rib nut time, baby. So, we got the rib nut tool in the mail, so I'm checking it out here. Basically, it works when you have a hole, you stick your rib nut, some people call it a nutsert, screw it onto the end of your rib nut tool, stick it in the hole, screw the tool into place, and then squeeze down on the handles, and that crimps the nutsert. The metal bunches up. The metal from the nutsert bunches up around the metal of your van. So it creates a sturdy hold for which to screw a bolt into, which honestly, that tool is awesome. I love using that tool. It's super easy to use. The tricky part was getting all the holes in and then getting everything to line up. And so you have to create the holes in your van, and then you need the holes in the board to line up to where the holes are that you put the rev nuts in. So it was a slightly frustrating process, not going to lie. I'm doing this because I enjoy it, right? Right? Are we enjoying ourselves? Are we having a good time? We are, right? We're having a good time, right? Is this what a good time feels like? It is, right? Right? Right. Come on, right? Right? For the first board, I tried to make it level so that I could just run a line across my board and know that all the holes would be on that line. I realize a van isn't level. It depends on what ground it's on. So who knows, maybe my grandpa's shop isn't quite level. It looks a little crooked, or maybe the van, I don't know. But it'll be fine. So once I had the board marked with where the holes would go, I had to countersink them so that the bolt would once again be flush with the wall. So this spade bit was already on the drill press and it worked just fine. So I used the drill press to countersink these holes and then finished it off with a drill bit. And if you pay close enough attention, you'll notice that it was so hot outside, the sleeves on my t-shirt did not stand a chance. Cut them right off. It was around this time that I hitched a ride into town with Grandma to buy some stainless steel bolts. And while I was there, we stopped at the bank, and I felt like a kid again because the bank teller gave me a sucker. But she said suckers are for adults too, and she's not wrong. So with the fuel from the sucker, I came back and I was able to attach 5 out of the 9 holes of the first board to my van. So I made 9 holes. 5 of them worked. So that's more than 50%. Anyways, as you can tell, at least it's level to whatever ground it's on right now. But yeah, we're leaving it for now. So then, with the boards on the ceiling, I tried to drill the holes first in the board and then measure where I should drill the holes in the van. So what I did was I just put some Scotch tape on the bolts and added some wood glue from when I was making the wheel well boxes. And I stuck that to the ceiling and then marked where the spot was and then got rid of the wood glue with a paper towel. Have I mentioned this isn't a tutorial? Because it's not. Most of the time I'm just trying things out here. But on this board, it worked for the most part. We got 3 out of 4, so that's good enough for me. And then with the board on the rib that's closest to the back of the van, it was more curved than the others, so I tried my hand at notching the board so that it would bend easier, and it actually worked. So I just lowered the table saw and added the notches in there. It was a tedious process, but worth it. At last, it was time to leave the farm. It was somehow it felt like a long week and a short week all at the same time. I didn't get quite as far as I wanted to, but that seems to be the story of the whole process. So I planed some boards to take with me to add some vertical studs when I get back to Sierra and Moses's garage. And then as a Hail Mary attempt, I stopped at my aunt and uncle's in Sioux Falls, the same uncle I had mentioned before, who's very helpful and handy. And we attached the last board with some leftover deck screws he had and added some deck screws to the long board in the top behind the driver's seat to secure that for holding some cabinets later. So in the end, I guess I have rib nuts and deck screws. And then I continued on my way back to the Twin Cities. Since this is framing at the farm, not framing at Sierra and Moses's, I figured I would just briefly show you how I finished the framing once I got back here. I don't know that it's completely done, but for the most part, I just used, if you remember the pocket jig that I used on the wheel well boxes, I just put these in here so that everything is flush for when I put the wall paneling on. And then up here is supposed to be for some cabinets. Gosh, there's mosquitoes out here. So yeah, I kind of just had to measure things out with the circular saw. It was really nice to be in Grandpa's tool shop and have access to like every tool ever except the rivet nut tool. But then, yeah, no, the circular saw is very versatile. I had never used a circular saw before building out this van, so it's taken a little bit to just figure out how to use it and all the different things it can do. It's just very portable and handheld, and I was like, how do you be precise? But yeah, we're figuring it out. I just kind of sacrificed a leftover piece of plywood and have been cutting on top of that. But yeah, I'll just show you how it's looking. Hey guys, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. Hey guys, guess what else? How many cuts does it take to frame your van? About this many. Okay.